Black Ops 3 is one of my favorite games. From the nostalgic multiplayer, to the absurd campaign, to the zombies, it has been pretty present in my life for over half of it. It's even on my wall. But for all the great parts that make up this game, it has some pretty divisive issues, one of which is the absurdity of the campaign. We're first going to cover the campaign and what's really happening in it, and then we'll discuss what makes it, honestly, one of my favorite campaigns ever. Disclaimer. What follows will be analysis of BO3 based solely on the merits of the game itself. This video will not be a BO7 campaign section, for the BO3 campaign is suddenly good. These next two sections will be detailing the story of Black Ops 3, both what you play through and what actually happens. If you're aware of what happens, both the scene story and the true story, then feel free to skip with the timestamps to the actual analysis. But if you've never played the campaign or haven't since, 2015, then let's dive into it. BO3's campaign is very convoluted, at least if you just do a playthrough and never use the handy terminal in the safe houses. BO3 basically unfolds as follows. In the year 2065, you get your arms and legs ripped off by a robot during an operation, and as such are given a chance to become a cybernetic enhanced soldier. You're going to go training for this new tech, work for a few years alongside a man named Hendrix, and eventually are sent to Singapore where you uncover a very illegal black site project codenamed Corvus, one that seems to have driven another cyber ops team under Commander John Taylor to desert and become traitors to the US. You slowly pick off Taylor's team one by one, coming to realize that they've been driven mad by an infection in the DNI, an infection that is spread to you. You go to Cairo, help in an uprising, finally kill Taylor, and Hendrix goes insane. The final mission is really where the absurdity of the campaign comes crashing down though, and what both confuses and upsets most players. Titled Life, you head to Zurich, Switzerland in the headquarters of Coalescence, the corporation leading the Corvus program and where Hendrix has headed. You kill Hendrix, kill yourself, and suddenly wake up in a location called the Frozen Forest, talking to Hendrix and seeing a physical manifestation of the AI behind the DNI infection. Taylor shows up in this dream/simulation to help you kill the AI, named Corvus, and then after fighting back you come out in reality and purge your DNI. You slowly walk out, hearing Corvus recite the mantra of the Frozen Forest, and the campaign ends with this.
Imagine yourself
What's your name, soldier?
in a frozen forest.
I said, what's your name?
Taylor.
Except, that's not what happens. What really happens is this. The first mission happens exactly as you see, even the robot absolutely demolishing you. You head off to surgery to get DNI and cybernetic upgrades, and when you have a panic attack during the surgery, something goes terribly wrong, something that leads to your character dying. What falls through the rest of the game is your player reliving the memories of John Taylor, the cyber soldier who saved your life, and the guy you spent all campaign pretty much hunting down. How can you be reliving the life of the antagonist if you see him die in the campaign? Well, John Taylor replaced the actual man killed in that scene, a man named Dylan Stone. In fact, John Taylor's entire squad replaced Dylan Stone's entire squad in this simulation. Sebastian Diaz replaced Javier Ramirez, Sarah Hall replaced Alice Conrad, and Peter Marietti replaced Joseph Fierro. It was Stone's team who was sent to the Singapore Coalescence facility, uncovering the human experiments and Nova 6 gas responsible for the Singapore disaster. It was Stone's team sent back to the black site to be killed by the CIA to prevent knowledge of this from getting out. And it was Stone's team who was hunted down by Hendrix and Taylor, one by one. What's even more important is that none of these people at the time were augmented. Not Taylor, not Hendrix, not a single member of Stone's team. There was no Corvus infection driving Stone's team, no vault in the DNI. It was simply people who felt they were doing the right things. We know all this due to the audio logs and scrolling text at the start of every campaign mission, where Taylor is discussing the events of the mission. We also know that this happened in the past, since those audio logs, as well as the date of each member of Stone's team who dies, are marked in the safehouse terminal as happening in 2064, whereas the player begins augmentation in late 2065. Where the campaign takes a full tilt turn from Taylor's memories is in the end cutscene of the penultimate mission, Lotus Towers, with Taylor ripping out his DNI and Hendrix going rogue. In reality, a badly wounded Taylor was saved by Hendrix, who killed Stone before Taylor could be killed. Taylor then is put up for Project Prometheus, the cyber ops and DNI program, and we see one last real memory, where Kane leaves him when he chooses to accept the augmentations. The entire final mission, titled Life, has no actual basis in reality. It is fully simulated in your mind, made by the rogue AI Corvus, who does actually exist, albeit dormant up until now, in the DNI network. How do we know this? First, Kane is present. When Taylor undergoes augmentation, she loses his life completely, not for a second. That is why the character is so confused when they see her in Zurich, since through Taylor's memories they know that she never came back. Secondly, Sebastian Kruger, the Coalescent CEO, was never killed or even captured. With the death of Stone's team, there was no longer a threat to his life, since there was no DNI infection to spread to Hendricks, and Hendricks simply transferred to hostage and rescue after the events of Lotus Towers. And, of course, there's the Frozen Forest. The Frozen Forest and the entire final mission is Corvus attempting to find out how it came to be and why it exists. Furthermore, it is your player fighting to stay alive during the enhancement surgery with Taylor, who has been present for the surgery to help guide you through it, trying his best to help you live. This, likely, but not for certain, involves the destruction of Corvus, or at the very least, the repression of it back into a dormant state. We cannot say for certain that Corvus has been destroyed, however, I would err on the side of it having been purged from the DNI system, or at the very least, of the DNIs of you and Taylor. As for the infamous final line of the game, more than likely it serves two purposes. To show the player that yes, they have been living Taylor's memories throughout most of the campaign, as well as possibly showing that you and Taylor have had your consciousnesses somewhat blurred together, or that Taylor has dominated your consciousness, something that was noticed in the test subjects for the Corvus project. What is certain is that by the end, your character is pronounced dead in reality. Now, obviously, that is an insane premise. However, it is impossible to describe or understand. In fact, once you know what's actually happening in the campaign, it's not too hard to see the clues in the gameplay. The real issue, however, that comes with this campaign is how you learn this information. All of this background information comes from an interactable terminal in the safe house, as well as the incredibly fast scrolling text before missions. These are simply not accessible without literally recording and slowing down the pre-mission text, going online to find said resources through something like the wiki, or by hunting through links and pages on the in-game terminal. This is not for most players, since most players are there to play the campaign and not find web pages in a terminal in a bedroom, or Google what looks like flavor text in a loading screen to uncover what's actually happening. The most upsetting part of this is that up until the literal last mission, the campaign has a followable storyline. Even without accessing the terminals and finding out what's really happening, there is still the story of the DNI infection. I, in fact, played through this campaign split screen with one of my friends recently, and they were not confused up until we reached the final mission. When talking to another one of my friends, they shared that they disliked the campaign because the final mission was so far out that it made it feel like it was all for nothing. If the final mission had been slightly less strange or did not end the way it did, then it would be alright. If the campaign ended with your character seeing the Frozen Forest burn, or physically killing the manifestation of Corvus before falling over and fading to black, it would be understandable without extra time investment, which is such a shame because honestly, every other part of this campaign is amazing. So what makes this campaign so good to me? Well, for one, I do actually enjoy the story, so that definitely helps. I love the non-linear nature of it and the fact that you can search for answers to learn what's really happening, and the fact that they even attempted something like this. I am a Zombies fan primarily though, so this isn't too surprising since that's how the zombie storyline functions. It was even directed by Jason Blundell. However, the story isn't what makes this game great to me. I do think it could have used some polishing and that it could have ended much better. What makes the campaign so strong for me is the physical gameplay and design of it, which is by far more important than the story of a game to me. Games should be gameplay first, that's what you will be spending most of your time doing and is the main aspect of any video game. BO3 not only has great level design, enemy variety and gameplay, but it has a lot of choice built in that gameplay. Starting with player choice, not only is there a decent amount of character customization, there is a lot of build customization. BO3 has a system called Cybercores. These act as optional abilities that your character can use, with the abilities being divided into 3 separate categories: Martial, Control, and Chaos. Martial generally just enhances your abilities instead of affecting enemies. You do stuff faster with Overdrive, turn invisible with active camo, or if you do want to mess with people, blow up everything around you with concussive force. Control, however, gives you the ability to mess with enemy robotics, with only one ability affecting human combatants in the entire Cybercore. From turning robots into your allies, to making them become suicide bombers, to hacking into a huge walking tank to duel with another huge walking tank, Control sacrifices power towards other humans to be very powerful into robots. Finally, Chaos gives you the ability to make stuff explode, make a bunch of stuff explode at once, and to light a bunch of guys on fire. Each also offers a stronger melee option, with Martial giving you a dash punch that can be chained to up to 3 people, Chaos giving you an arcing palm strike, and Control letting you rip the core of a robot and throw it like an EMP. Each Cybercore is chosen at the start of the mission, and with the mission select giving you a rundown on the enemy types you'll be fighting, you'll be able to pick the best core for what you'll fight. Reaching max campaign level, however, awards you with the multi-core ability. No longer are you limited to one core once, you can swap between each on the fly depending on what you're fighting. This allows for a ton of player choice. Chaos has always been my favorite since it lets me just beat the enemies faster from range. However, in my playthroughs with friends, I'll pick Control since it arguably has some of the strongest use cases but isn't always needed or even usable, balancing it out. For the playthrough to record footage for this video, I used Martial since I hadn't ever done a playthrough with it and realized that it is really helpful for completing objectives and moving around the levels. For instance, this segment, where you have to destroy structural supports, is notoriously difficult for me and my friends I played this game with. Using active camo, however, I was able to get in and out really quickly and destroy them with almost no issues. Each core is great at something, and allows for such great player choice in how you play that also makes the replayability of the game really high. This choice also extends into loadouts as well, and honestly, all of this is really what makes the campaign one of my favorites to play, since it lets me choose what I want to do and gives me a different experience each time. Level design as well is really good, offering the player choice in how they move through the levels without becoming non-linear. This kind of level design works great for COD campaigns. It allows the player to feel like they have options, but also keeps the strength of COD campaign design, which relies heavily on linear level design with impressive set pieces. It's why open world missions feel so rough in modern COD, since while it offers player choice on how to progress, it often relies on long travel periods between objectives, and since the player isn't being brought in at a specific point like they are in BO3, it prevents impressive set pieces from being placed. Set pieces that, like I said before, COD campaigns rely on heavily. Enemy variety too is done in a really good way, with the only enemy that feels even close to frustrating to deal with being the Warlord due to their ridiculous health amount. Yet they have an easy way to beat them by simply cycling your Cybercore on them to keep them locked down. Robots are also more tanky, but don't feel unfairly so, and range from weak and fast flyers to tougher infantry to huge gun platforms with shielding. It's an absolute wonder to me they were able to add this many various enemies into a COD campaign and only have one that feels bad to fight. The visual design too is amazing, with the blending of modern and futuristic styles that feels really good to look at. Singapore has the best identity outside of maybe the Lotus Towers, especially the Coalescence headquarters with the amazing entrance to the facility, but throughout, the visual design from enemies to environments is great. The cutscenes are also amazing and fit the aesthetic so well, and overall the visual identity throughout was absolutely nailed. Guns sound good, enemies sound good, especially the robots, environments sound great, and most importantly of all, the Coalescence noise makes up for great sound design on top. Quick editor's note here, I was looking at the soundtrack for the game as well to maybe use as the background for this. I'm not going to do that. However, if you have not heard the soundtrack to this game, it is amazing, and you should at least look over it. Even beyond just the zombies Easter eggs and stuff, the campaign music is really well done. On top of all this, there's an actual replayability to this campaign that isn't present in any other. You can try out a new Cybercore like I did. You can use different weapons, you can choose different paths. You can also earn collectibles and beat mission challenges to get XP or unlock tokens, and even earn medals, and with collectibles and medals, they can be displayed in the safe house. I sincerely believe that the final mission of the campaign wasn't so confusing in the end, that this campaign would be a beloved or even just universally agreed upon campaign as being great, outside of the subset of COD fans who just hate sci-fi in their COD. I don't even hate the Frozen Forest as a concept, a sort of digital space for DNI users to explore in their subconsciousness, and one that obviously isn't bound by your reality's rules, especially since it ties into how Corvus, as a program, is only operating under the data fed to it and actually isn't that smart of an AI. It also allows for some great segments, something that the final mission is full of. It features some of the single greatest looking areas in the game, with the mashup of various things you've seen, and the enemies exploding into crows, and getting a unique gameplay mechanic all to themselves as a result of it. It even has by far the best bit of voice acting in the entire game, when your character is going absolutely nuts.
You are not cold! It cannot overcome the warmth of your beating heart! Can you hear it? You have only to listen! Do you hear it aloud? Do you hear it growling?
I just think the ending needed a bit more work, giving a definite end to the campaign that shows you that your character actually died, and left the true story as a bonus that, while hinted to, isn't required to feel fulfilled by the campaign. Overall, I think that from a gameplay and design perspective, BO3 is one of the single greatest CODs ever made. It not only offers great player choice, but it does so in a way that plays off the strengths of COD campaigns to make for an altogether super great experience. It just sucks that for a campaign so good, the ending really pushes many away from it. If it's been a long time since you played the campaign, and you have some friends around to run it, I totally recommend it. It truly is one of the most fun campaigns to sit down and play, and I cannot fully explain to you how great it is gameplay wise. And honestly, up until the final mission, even the story is good. It just sucks that it ends the way it does, and that without more effort that most players are not going into the campaign to do, the story is just suddenly insanely confusing at the literal last minute. And I hope that in the future, they can do something like this again, but do it a bit better. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you have any thoughts on either this campaign or any videos you may want me to think about making, let me know. My next video is going to be something slightly different. It's going to be a more gameplay focused video. It's going to be more like what I used to do. I'm also sorry for the big delay on this video and just in general posting on this channel. I was waiting on a microphone at first, and then I ran out of time to finish the script and record before I left for college, and I was unable to find a good way to record on campus. I finally figured out a way. It's really goofy. If you want to see it, it's in the ending of my last video. Anyway though, I'll see you all in the next one, and if you want some more Black Ops 3 content, here's a zombies video I did a while back in a different style. Bye bye.
Focus only on my voice. Every word I say helps you relax ever deeper. There is nothing to fear. Let your mind drift back to a time when you felt free from all the stress and all the worry of your everyday life. Somewhere calm, somewhere safe. Breathe slowly and deeply. As you become even more relaxed, you begin to feel the air brush against your skin. Whenever you are afraid, I want you to imagine yourself standing in this place of safety, calm, and at peace.